Welcome in, Hawkeye Nation, episode 208 of the Washed Up Walkons podcast. You guys are back again. We're so thankful to have you here. As you see on the title, we have Shaun Beyer, recent Iowa graduate, recent Iowa football player with us. He's doing his thing right now, trying to make the NFL, and we're going to highlight that in a second, talk about him and his career. Real quickly, want to give a shout out to our Patreon members who are so near and dear to our heart. Troy, Becker, Kathy, Wallace, Travis McIlvain, and Eric Lewis, the new members of the Patreon and the Walk-On Army. So thank you for that support. Shaun, let's turn it over to you. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For those watching on the YouTube, we've had this background before. We interviewed the international pop star Dallas Jacobus, about a month or so ago, with the old the hunting kind of wooded background, tiger hawk flag in the back. We love it. We love to see it.
There it is.
Now we have Beyer in front of it as well. Kevin and Drake left me hanging. Kevin usually never shows up. Drake also not showing up today, so it's a solo, but that's okay. Like I told Shaun before we hit the record button, and as all of you know, in Hawkeye Nation, I don't have any problem talking, so we will figure this thing out. Shaun, man, what's life like right now? I went through it, right? I've been through the pro day training. It wasn't during COVID, and I'm sure that's provided a whole different set of challenges, but I've been through that. You know, it was honestly the best semester of my life. I didn't have any school. I got to play Fortnite and train for the pros. And that's all I did. What's it been like for you these last, 2 to 3 months?
Yeah, for sure. It's been busy, which is a good thing. But had a good pro day. And kind of like you said, you don't have much to do through the day. You just we work out 11, get done usually around 1, and you get home, you're like, don't have any schoolwork or anything to do. So you're just like, what the hell am I supposed to do with myself? So, play some video games with the buddies and, just do whatever you can to pass the time. But as far as NFL, I've been talking with teams consistently throughout the process. Now it's kind of just been like, what's your draft day info leading up to the draft as far as now. So it's been going well.
Is that weird for you?
It is. I mean, yeah, because it's like every kid's dream, if you play football, you want to go to the NFL. So talking to these teams, it's like kind of surreal. It's like, am I really doing this right now? It's kind of weird.
I remember when you came into the program. Was that 2016 or 17?
16, yeah.
16. So two seasons with us on the podcast. Skinny kid, athletic kid.
Yeah.
What opened your eyes? That welcome to Big Ten, welcome to college football. What was that like early on for you?
Well, it was different because I came in kind of as an athlete. They didn't know what they were going to quite do with me, whether I was going to play linebacker or tight end or receiver. And we were a little short on receivers coming in 2016 that year. So they stuck me in a receiver for depth. And it was just kind of like the pace of play. Because, in high school, if you're coming in as a Division I athlete, scholarship, whatever, or not, usually you're the big man on campus at, high school. You're just the best player on the field no matter what. Of course.
You dominated at Kennedy.
Yeah. And then coming in to college, especially at like a Power 5 school like Iowa, it's like, okay, everyone was the best player on their team, So I would say probably pace of play, just everything is so much faster coming in. So that took a little time to adjust to. So
and this could be wrong because there's a lot that went on at Iowa, but I seem to remember, and everybody had this moment, I seem to remember early on, I want to say it was even maybe like to start that 2017 season. We go into the offseason, right? We have those 8 weeks that the team just finished up 3 weeks ago before spring ball. Really heavy development period for Iowa football, for any football team. Heavy lifting, GPP. And like you said, you're an athletic kid. I think there were some expectations from the coaching staff, maybe more so from you than, some of the other guys, some of the walk-ons. There was some expectation, it felt like, from you. And I seem to remember Coach Doyle absolutely tearing you apart on one specific day. Did that happen, or am I not remembering that? Because it might have been like during prowlers or something. Did that happen?
Yeah, I think the day you're talking about, we were doing like wall strikes, and I started
Mm,
with like the wrong foot up, and then from there on, it just went all downhill.
yep.
So he was like on my ass all day that day, and just kind of just reaming me on everything, every little thing that I did. But I feel like everyone kind of went through that,
Yeah.
like a day where Doyle's kind of got in a mood on him, and it is what it is, and it was just part of the process. I felt like I didn't feel like he was, I mean, he was singling me out, but it was for good reason. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just get on my ass a little bit, say, hey, you need to get going. You got potential to play here, whatnot. So I understood it. It was nothing like I took it personally, but yeah, no, it
Right.
did happen for sure.
Okay. I thought so. And I just remember going home and thinking, God, he tore Beyer a new one today. Like that just
Yeah.
that, and you're right. Everybody did go through it. And of course, with what happened last summer, everybody has their thoughts and their own stories. But with that amount of discipline and attention to detail, I feel like it's something that a lot of guys struggle with, right? Like
Yeah.
they come in and it's just like high school wasn't like this. Like I didn't have to worry about what foot I started my
Yeah.
sprint with, or how my socks looked, or how I came to a workout, what time I showed up, even for a lot of guys. And
Yeah.
that attention to detail was obviously a large part of the success at Iowa or any college program. Did you struggle with that at all, or did you find, that you picked
I
that up
felt
pretty
like,
quick?
yeah. So, well, I felt like that you make a good point there because, in high school, you're just more talented than everyone,
Right.
really. So when you come in and the talent level is the same, those fine details are what's going to set you apart from the guy in front of you. So it did take a little bit to realize that, for
Mm-hmm.
me at least. So then, getting into the film and, in high school, I never really watched film,
No.
like watching my games or anything. It's like I just went out and played. So, watching practice film, watching game film, watching other people's film like Kittle and, TJ and Noah, and learning from them. It's like so much more. It's like a full-time job, really.
Exactly.
So like you said, attention to detail, it's what's gonna set you apart in the long run. So it took a little bit. But when I found it, I was like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. You mentioned 3 guys there that they're decent at the tight
Yeah,
end position.
they're
They've
all
done,
right.
they've done okay for themselves, right?
Yeah,
George particularly, but I think Hawk and Noah both might be poised for some big, big seasons here.
yeah,
I mean, we're rocking with I would say 3 of the top 15 or 20 tight ends in the league right now.
for sure.
And you got to, well, shit, you got to be around for a small bit of all 3 of those guys.
Yeah.
George for a season, and then Noah and Hawk for a little bit more. Um, what is it about those 3 guys that make them special? And how did you take advantage of that as a younger guy, as maybe a protege? Because that's a lot, right? Like you're just trying to
Mhm.
a lot of times in college, you're just trying to figure it out, man. You're just trying to be a college student. There's classes, there's the social life aspect to it. There's the D1 aspect to it that you just mentioned that is a serious full-time job. But then there's this other part to it. It's like, okay, now I feel comfortable just surviving. How do I thrive? And those 3
Mhm.
guys are huge. You probably, I don't know if there's another 3 guys in the last just 6 years that you look at any position from Iowa where you could take so much, right? I mean, they gave you a
Mhm.
literal blueprint on how to do things right in the program and how to play the position specifically. What did you
Mhm.
take away from them?
I think really it comes down to how we're coached at Iowa, especially at the tight end position.
Mhm.
I think that is what sets us apart, and it's what set those guys apart from the rest of the NFL. Going into the NFL, they had the skills and were coached in a way that makes them NFL ready. So
Yep.
when they come in and they can thrive in a program because they don't have to. I mean, anytime you're going to a team, you're going to have to learn their system or whatnot, but they have the skills,
Yep.
and it was coached into them and engraved into them. So being under them and you learning from what they did and what made them excel in a game, in practice, whatnot. I tried to, put that and ingrain that in all the parts of my game. So being able to learn from them on and off the field, um, you know, it can do nothing but help me, especially in this process, tight end you, whatever, but it definitely can't hurt. But it was good.
There was a time where Noah was the topic of a lot of people on the outside conversation,
Mm-hmm.
of him being underutilized, right? We weren't using Noah Fant enough. Why isn't Noah getting the ball? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were there during that, obviously. And then a little bit to your own story, some may say that you were underutilized.
Yeah.
We had Laporta, obviously, and it was almost a similar deal, like a Hawk Noah, or George Noah or Pete Noah. I mean, all those guys kind of played together. And then most recently, it's been you and Sam. What do you think people on the outside don't understand, or maybe they are getting it right on the underutilization? How did you guys deal with that on the inside, or did you even know it was happening? Did you even really pay attention to what KF would call the noise?
I mean, you try to block it out, but at the same time, everyone wants the ball more. Everyone wants more reps and whatever. So really, you just gotta make everything you can of the ones you do get, and then move forward with that. And I mean, yeah, like I wish I would have played more. Well, who doesn't? Wish I would have gotten 5-6 touchdowns this year. Sure. I didn't. I got one. I'm damn happy I got one.
Yeah, be happy because sometimes they elude people,
Yeah. By a couple inches, huh?
Yeah, just a couple yards, but yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think
It
that
was fun.
Yeah, I think that making the most of it is something you did, right? You had a couple highlight plays. First of all, you opened up the season with like a one-handed grab that got the limited amount of fans on their feet. And that was cool. You've obviously displayed athleticism. Kind of started, like you said, you kind of came in as the ATH, right? Like you didn't even know where you're going to be. How did you grow as a person through a Division I football program? Like, what is Shaun Beyer? What's the difference between Shaun Beyer now in 2021 versus the 2016 Shaun Beyer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's something I take pride in. And I think that's really what they try and do, develop you at Iowa as well. I think something that they do really well. They develop you for the outside world. They give you the discipline to where you need to show up on time. You need to, be attentive, actively listen. And if you want to be successful, you have to put effort in. And that's what it is anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
So just, learning and developing the Iowa way, if you want to say, is what's going to make you successful in the business world, or starting your own business, or doing it, whatever you want to do. It's they're teaching you how to be successful, in my mind. So I think every year you're going to grow, because you don't really have a choice, just based off of how they train you, how we do things at Iowa. It's going to train you to be a good person, someone that's going to work hard, show up every day, work, and, put in the extra effort, because that's what it takes at Iowa to be a great player.
Did you enjoy the physical aspect of that? Just the you either grow or you die, basically. You have to get better, right? Like the weight room, the off-season stuff, the summer conditioning. Did you like that part of it?
I mean, yeah, I did, but at the same time, it was really hard.
Yeah.
So, no, I enjoyed it. Anytime you're out on the field with your teammates, you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna have fun. It's competitive. So yeah, I can't say that I didn't enjoy it, but it wasn't easy.
No. What was like? Okay, so the way me and Kevin and Drake, we all have our like one workout that we think back to. And I can tell you mine, but it's not about me. Like you think back over the 4 or 5 years, like, stations in 60s or this or that. What's the one, maybe it was just your first GPP and what's the one workout that comes to mind where you're like, I almost died. Like I almost died.
Um, there's two that come to mind. One was, I don't remember who it was, but someone screwed up in the dorms
Oh,
and did something. And we had like an early morning prayer session was what they called it with
yep.
KF, where we came in. It was before spring ball practice. And he's like, oh, I want to see you guys here in the building at like 5 a.m. And we were like, oh, okay. We didn't know like what was going on. And then he like explained the situation. And we rolled from sideline to sideline. I don't know how many times, but it was fine when we were rolling one way. But then he said we were about halfway through, and then he made us switch the way we rolled. And then, yeah, it all went downhill from there. And then another one was that first year GPP, the first time, or it wasn't the first time. It was, I think it was our third session of prowlers. But we were doing them from the sideline to the hash. And I think we did like 6 reps or something. Yep. And I literally, like, my legs could not move the last 5 yards. They like literally could not push the prowler through the line. Like I was giving it everything I had and I just couldn't do it. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I supposed to be here? Like, what am I doing here? Right. Kind of thing. You know how it goes.
Yep.
But
believe me, I went through plenty of those.
It was like, holy crap. Yeah. It was like an eye opener. I was like, all right, we're going to have to bring it.
Yeah. And you were always pretty, I mean, like we said, you were always pretty good at the running stuff, like the general conditioning. Like, you know, awesome stride length, kind of a smaller kid that was track guy in high school. You know, you played everything in high school, just general athlete. Mm-hmm. But even for some of the best athletes, like you get one of those random, I mean, all the way back to like, I remember some of the guys who would like really struggle with like that very first GPP that was like in the weight room. And it was like burpees, touch the pull-up bar, inverted rows, push-ups, and maybe that was it. Or like
med ball slam or something.
Yeah, med ball slams, or maybe it was like sledgehammer onto the tire. And it was like the easiest GPP. Yeah. And I remember it was usually the bigger guys with that one because it was a lot of body weight. But like I remember some of them like dying, and it was just like no one escapes. No one just escapes and is fine with everything, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. What moments over your career, what sticks out? You know, maybe a game, or maybe just, you know, an away trip and hanging with the boys, or what kind of sticks out, and what will live on with you now that your time in the black and gold is done?
There's a lot of things that I, really enjoyed here. Individually, I'll never forget that one-handed catch I had versus Nebraska. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Team-wise, beating Ohio State and paddling them. Finally beating Wisconsin was nice.
God, that was huge, dude.
Yeah. That was fun. But one thing I always liked is the night before games, we'd always play euchre with the tight ends. The tight ends would get in the room, and we'd all, bullshit and play cards and all night and go down to, snack or whatever and come back up and go to bed or whatever. But, just those times, sitting with teammates in the hotel room, playing cards and bullshit. And those are some times I'll never forget for sure.
Yeah. That, it's like, I know I always got that question too. And I was like, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, like literally just like I think I remember the first time it was the first day of school, right? And this was back before you got there. So this was like, back in my time, but we practiced in the afternoon. Like it was back then, it was schedule your classes in the morning, practice, I think special teams meeting was always at like 2:40 in the afternoon. Practice started at like 3:45 or whatever, 4:00. And so we all would go to school, and then you got like an hour there, like after lunch, where you could like take a nap, and then you had to get up. And I remember like the first day of practice, just in an absolute like swarm moped squad, we all drove over to the complex the freshmen did together. And that's like honestly one of my favorite memories. It felt so cool to be like, you had like the Hawkeye backpack on and everybody's on their moped and you're rolling over to football practice. Man, those were the days. But it really is sometimes not the football stuff that that you remember the most.
Yeah.
COVID was quite the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a crazy year for sure.
Did you at any point think like, fuck, it's over. Like, we're not going to get a season and my career here's done. I don't get a senior season. Was that ever
Well,
crossed the
yeah.
mind?
Well, when they canceled the season, yeah, it was like, shit. All right. I guess we're not playing.
I mean, yeah, other
But
than that, but like before that, or was it just like kind of head down?
I always thought that we were gonna play no matter what. Like
Yeah.
it just like never crossed my mind that was like other than when they canceled the season, but like even then I was still like, they're still gonna find a way. Like there's no way we're not gonna have Hawkeye football.
Yeah. Right. That's a weird concept.
Yeah.
What were the biggest challenges for you that COVID presented? Just being, I mean, and even for you more so as a senior leader, right? Like there's some unwritten responsibility that an older guy kind of has on his shoulders. Where did that manifest itself over that off season, especially with the turbulence you went through with Coach Doyle and the racial disparity stuff? Just what was that like to take on in your senior off season, like all at once? What was that like?
I felt like the biggest thing was that we didn't have spring ball. Like, and that's a time that comes with, huge growth. And, every snap is an opportunity in spring ball. So not having that as an opportunity, and especially as like a senior leader, you don't get that opportunity to, come out and, coach the young guys and, be that helping hand or whatever for the team. And then we couldn't even train either. So like we got set up luckily with a rack in our garage. And
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So we were very fortunate for that. So we could at least train and like keep our conditioning up and whatnot. But even then it was tough. Like it's just not having the team aspect, going in and lifting with a team and just the competitive atmosphere and everything and that. It's just like, it's not the same. So it was so awesome when we finally got back together as a team just to see everyone. We haven't seen anyone for so long. And it was like, God, this is awesome. Finally being back. It made you have such a better appreciation for, being on a team or in a team setting rather than, working out by yourself or whatever, because it's just so much better.
Yeah. That connectedness, that almost like, I'm not even sure how to describe it. It's almost like a team blood flow kind of thing. Like it's very important. And when you don't have that, it's almost like you're just a bunch of guys that are like, you work together, but you don't really see each other. Yeah. I can't imagine how that would feel. That is weird. A lot of people, you mentioned the spring ball thing and the lack of that time and how big it is for development. And then you saw that manifest a little bit with those first two games.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, again, the Twitter coaches will tell you that Spencer's the fucking worst quarterback on earth. But he struggled at times first year, didn't get a spring ball as the one, right?
Yeah.
And you could talk to how important spring ball is, like as a backup guy or as a scout team guy versus the guy. Like you're the guy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's so different, especially at the quarterback level where you're now controlling the offense.
And even in like, we didn't really have like a actual fall camp.
We
had 2 weeks.
You had no skills and drills. You had nothing.
Yeah, we had like maybe 2 weeks of fall camp, and it wasn't even like in the first week's bullshit, because we ain't in pads or anything. It's 7-on-7 and whatnot, not real football. And then so we have a week of real like camp maybe, and then we're in game prep. It's like, so like there's no time for development, no time for anything.
Do you think the team felt unprepared?
I would like to.
Like prepare, like, so the younger guys.
No, going into the game. When the game started and we were in the game, we were like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, we were not.
Because obviously guys like you who have been through a normal offseason, you guys know what it's supposed to feel like at kind of at the turn of each phase of the year, right? Like a Division I football program, at least at Iowa, it's very phased out. 8 weeks before spring ball, 3 weeks after, summer phase 1, get a break for 4th of July, summer phase 2, camp, season. Like that's how it is. And you kind of, as you go along in the program, you start to get a feel for like, okay, the team's in a good spot here. Like we're like, the offense is really far ahead of where like we need to be, or the defense is really clicking already, and it's only summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for the older guys like you, I imagine there was a feeling like, ooh, we're just not there. Like you still felt like you did as much as you possibly could to game plan for the opponent, right? But on a macro level, it was just like, we just haven't had the time.
Exactly. That's the biggest factor. It was time for us. So it was hard to, say, oh, I don't think we're ready, because we didn't have anything to compare it off of.
Right.
It was like, this is what we got. This is as ready as we're going to be. So we felt like we got it. Like, we're ready, because they put everything's planned out at Iowa. So we had the plan, we executed the plan for fall camp, whatever, and game week. Felt like we had a good game plan, whatnot. And then it just felt like we went out there and everyone was like a deer in headlights. So it was like, okay. And then we kind of started to get the ball rolling there after, week 2.
What did it feel like in the locker room during those first 2 weeks? Was it quiet, kind of like, so, everyone's kind of searching for answers? What was
a little bit? Yeah. I would say so, for sure. It was like, kind of like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. It's like hard to explain, because it's like, first off, it was a long time ago, but like, it's like weird. It's just like a feeling I've never felt before, because you know how it is at Iowa. You always feel like you're the most prepared. And if you aren't prepared, then it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so it felt like we were prepared, but then it didn't show, type of thing. So it was like, what is going on? Like, it was so weird.
Obviously it felt better as you guys started to pick things up. It was clear the Michigan State game was a huge hump to get over for you guys.
Yeah.
I was there. They didn't even, I don't know if those guys were, they couldn't have beat a fucking D3 team that day. And you guys were doing everything right and they were doing everything wrong. And man, to rattle off 6 straight, that was something. And again, beat Wisconsin, all the trophies in the building, right?
Yep.
Even better, the Iowa State trophy, because they didn't even get a chance. And it's like, well, it had to feel pretty good. Like, it had to feel like, I know you didn't get a bowl game, which sucks. And I know it wasn't a full season, which sucks. And with just, a couple points difference in the Northwestern game, you're sitting in the Big Ten championship, not to remind you or anything, but afterwards you guys had to feel like, okay, we turned this thing around. This is something that's good to go out on, right?
Yeah. So what I kind of compared it to is in 2016, we lost to NDSU and everyone's like, okay, we got to go.
Yeah.
Like, and that week of practice was like, everything was sharp. Everything was,
I remember.
We were on it. And so I vividly remember that in that week of practice in 2016. And then we beat Michigan. And then it was like, okay, we got it now. So I kind of had that same feeling after week 2. Everyone on the team was kind of like, what's going on here? We need to figure something out. And then it was like, we got to go. Like, this is our time. We got to go.
Yeah.
So we had a great practice that week, execution wise. Everyone was flying around, maximum effort. And then we went out on the field and it showed.
Yeah.
So if you want a comparison, that's kind of where I felt the comparison was, where it was like, either we're going to shit this year down the drain or we got to go. And we went. So
yeah, it was good to watch. You move into the off season here, and for you, it's time to put up or shut up. It's like, okay, well, this is the next step in the process. We're gonna try our run at this NFL thing, right?
mm-hmm.
And for you, like you said earlier, it's kind of weird. It's like the dream always as a kid, but now it's reality. Like you're training for the NFL. You had a pro day. Scouts were in the building. You've talked to NFL teams. Like this is a real reality, but unsimilar. I'm not sure if that's a word. To George even or Noah or Hawk. Your production, partially due to COVID and partially just due to, maybe some underutilization, Laporta, whatever. In 2 years, 18 catches, 275 yards, 1 touchdown. What's the selling point for Shaun Beyer? Why does an NFL team take a chance on you?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been the common theme. Like, why hasn't there been, the amount of production that, maybe a top round tight end or a normal starting Iowa tight end has been? And, it's just, I like to say I made the most of my time. When I had the opportunity to, get a ball thrown my way, I more often than not caught it. I think I had 1 drop in my career at Iowa. Which is 1 too many in my opinion, but
Love that. Love the perfection.
Yeah, no. And then like you kind of stated earlier, I like to think of myself as an all-around athlete. So I'm going to be a guy that's going to thrive on special teams. I played all special teams, here at Iowa. And so I have that on film as well. So, and then I'm an all-around tight end, and then teams see that as underproduction, maybe, but I don't know if that's the word to describe it as, like, because if you look at my overall stats compared to the amount of time that I played, it was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But at the same time, I mean, like I kind of said before, everyone wishes they, got more balls thrown to them and had more touchdowns and whatnot and had more spark plays. But I felt like I made the most of the opportunities that I did get.
Right.
And then I'm going to be a guy that is going to play on all special teams phases if you ask me to. So that's kind of my selling point.
Big kid now, 6'5", 250.
Yep.
250. So you've got the size I wish I had. Do you see yourself and I imagine the answer is yes, because the versatility is obviously great for the resume, playing maybe a little H-back if they need you to, playing a little, kind of what Dom Daphne does for the Packers a little bit. Like if you have to, screw it. I mean, you'll do it all, right? Like,
yeah, that's kind of another selling point, like as a versatility guy. So I came in as a wide receiver, so I know that route tree a little bit. And then, I came in, started playing the F position tight end or tight end number 2, H-back, whatever. The guy that motions, moves, is split out all over the place. And then the past couple of years, I was Y. So I kind of played every position, whatever receiving position out there. So yeah, I do have that versatility as well.
Well, I hope you get a fucking shot, man, because I think you're, a lot of, I've seen, everybody writes their articles and stuff, and you've got the Tiger Hawk like we talked about, and that means something. As far as the way you go about things, you're NFL ready, and I have no doubt about that. And I think that, like you said, the opportunities that you were given, you kind of took advantage of. So I think there's some potential there. It sounds like you're talking to teams, so I think some people see that same thing, and hopefully you get a shot. After, whether you get a look or you don't, what does Shaun Beyer do after football? What's the passion? What's the goal, or do you even know?
Yeah. So I was a double major. I did economics and enterprise leadership. So I'd like to do something in the financial world, whether that would be financial advising or something sales or anything like that. So
Cool.
that's kind of where direction I would be headed.
NFL tight end pays a little bit better though.
Yeah, a little bit. I'd like to think so.
George can attest to that.
Yeah.
Well, Shaun, it was nice to have you. I'm so glad that you sat down with us, and it was with us, right?
Yeah.
We like to bring light to all the guys anytime we can, and it's good for the Hawkeye community to learn a little bit more about the guys that they watch play on the field in Kinnick for so long, and we're just happy to have you on, man.
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Episode 208 of the Washed Up Walkons. Thank you guys for joining us. We will, of course, be back again on Monday. Tune in for that. Until then, it's Hawks by a million, and peace out.